Hello friends, welcome in. Let's see. Okay. I am in an event today, guys, and it is all about fairies. If you haven't been following along, the event is being hosted by Crafty Friends Unite, which is Crafts by Amy. That is her event group. If you follow along, you can watch all of today's presenters. You will find her all of the lives for today there. And I hope that you guys like what I am going to show y'all. I'm just waiting to make sure that I am sent out everywhere and that I'm in the group. So welcome into everybody. Please, if you haven't followed the group already, make sure that you're following the group. The link is in the description of my of this live. Okay, thank you, Miss Amy. I appreciate you very, very much. So we're going to be working and making an element for a journal that you can make this anyways. I'm adding a fairy to it because it is, hi there Miss Elizabeth, the theme of today's event is fairies. But I wanted to show you guys how to do this technique. It is a fun little element to add into any journal that you're working with. Hello there Miss Trudy, hi there Miss Kim, welcome in guys. So I just looked for fairy doors and found some images and printed them, and I may have printed them a little too small, but it'll be alright, we can work with it. So these are the two that I decided to pick. We have a pink door, and then we have just a wooden door with the nice wall going around it. And then I picked some images that I have that I had under my fairy file here on my computer. So we have a little fairy who is reading, and I'm not sure which one I'm going to use yet. I just went ahead and printed them, that way I would have them. We have this beautiful like watercolor style fairy with like the open doorway in the background. We have a fairy who is drinking her cup of tea on her mushy there. And then we just have a nice fairy, like a garden fairy type thing. So we will decide which ones of these we will use in a bit. Right now, let's work on the door. Now I did print these a little bit, like I didn't print them this way so they wouldn't be too big for a journal. Because most journals tend to be done in the size of an 8.5 by 11 size page that is folded, correct? So that is why I did print these in a landscape format. So they would be a little bit smaller. I could have probably printed them just a tad bit bigger, but that's okay. And they are on cardstock, which will make it a lot easier for what I want to do. You will need some form of a craft knife if you have that, or like the ones that swivel. This one swirls, which is really nice because I can cut around things and all so whatever form of a cutting tool that you choose, you can use for this. Okay, you'll also need your scoreboard and things of that nature. So let's get started, guys. I'm going to start by just cutting these images down. Whether they're going to fit exactly like this or not, I'm not sure yet, but for now I just want to trim them down so I have less around to work on. So I'm just going to cut the edges. I loved Kim, who was up before me, Kim's Wreaths. She did a very, very pretty steampunk style fairy, and she did a busted canvas, which was really cute. Hi there, Miss Brandy. How are you doing, dear? So again, this is a fun little element, and I love having interactive things in my journals. I think they make them fun, you know, like having pockets and pop-ups and all those things are always fun. So this is a fun element to add, and I did want to show it to you guys. Now, I'm going to be paying attention. The handle to open the doors on this side, and the hinges are on this side, which means that I'm going to make sure that my door is going to open where the hinge is, because if not, it would be a little bit weird. just saying, right? It would be a little bit weird if it doesn't. Hello there, little gifts. How are you doing? And Miss Stephanie, welcome, welcome. Okay, so taking your craft knife or whatever tool you decide to use, okay, we are going to trace, and we're going to cut 3 sides: the top, the side here, and the bottom, okay, leaving this side intact. Okay, so the side that shows the hinges where the door would swing, we're going to leave that attached to our paper. Okay, and that's going to give us the element of a swinging door. Let me know if any of you have tried or have done something like this. I am kind of curious to know if you have. Now, I have a mat on my table. If not, make sure that you put some kind of like self-healing mat on your table. Don't just start cutting up your table, your surface with this, okay? So you see how I'm starting to get it to come to cut open, and that is all that I'm going to be doing right now. Is I'm just going to be cutting. And like I said, you can use just the straight style craft knife, or if you have one that swivels like this one, then you can use it as well. So, and you might find that you might have, you know, especially if you pick up your knife, you might end up finding that you might miss a spot like I did right there. So I have 2 sides. Now we're going to do the bottom half of it. And this is going to give you, an, like I said, a fun, interactive little add-on to a journal. I said, for me, journals, you know, are all about the cute little items that we can add to them, okay? This is where you're going to want to bring your scoreboard in, and you're going to want to score it, okay? Sorry, I think I got like an eyelash or something because it's been bothering me. So I'm just going to come and score right along where the hinges are. Okay, and that's going to allow for the door to open and close. Alright, so that's going to give us an open door. You guys, you can do this with windows. I mean, it's, you know, not just doors. I mean, you can do it with windows, all kinds of fun things, okay? Let me see if I can go ahead and score. So, I'm curious if you do journals, have you ever tried having a moving element like this in your journal? Like a doorway. Oh, thank you, Miss Brenda. Miss Brenda, you're up after me, correct? I was trying to follow along with the chat and I was a bit confused, but I believe you'll be up after me. So now this one is straight line, so this one you could definitely do with just a regular craft knife. It's just a lot easier to do the curved one if you have one of the knives that swivel on you. And this one was a We Are Memory Keeper one, and I don't even remember now where I got it. So just following along here, the printable part. You're pretty new to journaling? Well, that's fun. Yes, doors and windows are so much fun to play around with. There's like I said, there's a lot of things that can be done in journaling. So I don't look. So obviously, junk journaling is taking junk and turning it into journals, but that whole idea has expanded so much with printables and adding, you know, all these interactive elements and things to where it is really an art form now. And you can express your art in a journal in so many ways. And I like to consider myself a mixed media artist because I love to play with all kinds of things. Right? I love to play with obviously I love paper. I've always loved playing around with paper. Now, did I go all the way through? Sometimes I don't press hard enough, and that's just me, because like I know I have a mat and I still want to be careful. That's just, you know, that's just how I am. So I'm just going along the line that I've already actually cut. I just didn't go deep enough. But I love being able to, you know, add different textures, and by adding fabrics and laces and clay and things of that nature to a journal. Hello, welcome in everybody. Thank you so much for being here. So again, this one will open up like this. Okay. Let's go ahead and get a little bit of some inking going on here. So I'm just going to use my Distress Oxide in my absolute favorite, which is the Vintage Photo. And see, I don't know if you guys can tell, but because I didn't go all the way through, I kind of messed it up a little bit, but that'll be fine because I'm gonna end up covering it. Right now I just want to get the white edge covered. Okay, I'm gonna do the same over here. Still trying to learn how to make dangles for journals. You know, dangles I say requires some jewelry making knowledge, and I am definitely not there. I have made dangles. I don't think they are some of the prettiest ones out there, because I've seen some people's dangles, and oh my goodness, like, y'all are just so talented. So very talented. Like I said, you know, bring those expertise into whatever it is that you're making. You know, if you have a talent for being able to mix colors and papers and palettes and things of that nature, that is a very good knowledge to have when you are making a journal, because you're putting all the papers together to go in, because not everybody likes to follow a straight printable. You don't have to always do a printable set. Like, you can do like what a junk journal would be, which would be, you know, mixing pages from, you know, old books and stuff. Just cleaning that edge up just a little bit. And like I said, I am trying to distress the edge so we don't see the white, okay? Hey there, Miss Mary Lou. How are you, my friend? So, is Miss Mary Lou up after me, or is it Miss Brenda? I am confused like no tomorrow. It doesn't take much though, but I was a little bit confused on which of the two lovely ladies would be up after me. Ah, I make it look easy. Well, thank you for that. I appreciate that very, very much. Okay, it is Miss Brenda. Okay. Alright. I thought it had switched to her, but I wasn't 100% sure, so I did want to, you know, make sure that I did get that right. Okay. Now, you know, when we go to open this up, I don't want to see white, right? So, let's find some paper to cover the back with, okay? And for that, ouch. I was gonna go today to the doctor, and I ended up not going. But I think I'm gonna have to go tomorrow. My knee has been bothering me a whole lot. And it hurts to bend it, which is not a good thing. Because, you know, we kind of need to bend our knees. It is kind of part of their purpose. Alright. So, I love this little pad that I got from Michael's. I think it's actually very, very cool. It is where I get a lot of my little fairy images from sometimes, or at least here recently. And let's see, what do we want the inside of? If you have like a wood grain paper, it would work great for this. You could also print double-sided. Oh, it is very pretty. I've used this one multiple times. I've used it a lot. Because it's kind of like on the dark side and all that things. Alright, so this is like a big book, and it might be one of those pages that would be probably a little bit harder to incorporate into something, but it would look good for the back of our little doors. So we're going to cut this up, and we're going to use it for that purpose. And I'm actually going to use the middle part here. So I need to bring my paper thing out here. It is a very pretty paper, yes it is. I really wish that that would stop falling off all the time. We could use that piece. We can use that piece. We'll make it work. Okay. So, I am going to figure out where it is that I want to cut this. And I'm not like a whole big measuring person. When I tell you I eyeball things, I eyeball things, okay? So I'm eyeballing here, and that I'm going to want it to come, and I'm going to come a little bit further out so that it will bend with it. And then we need it to be right here. So now that I've made my measurements for that, I'm going to bring my board back and cut. So I don't know if anybody else does like the eyeball method where you eyeball what you're going to use, how much you're going to use. But that is normally how I tend to work. So I keep a pencil handy, you know, and then we work with what we got. Okay. Alright, so let's start. Trying to figure out exactly where I want this. And what I'm doing is I am taking my edge and I am lining it up to where it's going to be. And then we're going to give ourselves the little curve that we need. I eyeball just about everything. If I measure, Miss Mary Lou, we are soul sisters, because you know it is crazy, and I get asked like, how do you measure it wrong? Because I'm a math teacher, and I'm like, look, math and crafts just no, they just don't go. And every time I do try to measure stuff, it ends up being wrong. So I just eyeball. I eyeball the heck out of my crafts. And it works out. It may not work for everybody, but it works for me. So, you know, I know there's the whole saying, you know, measure twice or 3 times and cut once. Yeah, well, I've done that and it ends up not working out the best. So alright, all I did was give myself a little score, and now I can glue this together, and the score should be right where the score line is so that it will fold. So that's the first one, and I'll get back to gluing it in a second. Let's do this one right quick so that I can see where I want to put that score line on. You know, it is so funny. I find it funny that, you know, I teach math and I can't do the whole measuring thing. I've tried following the YouTube videos with the measurements, and it just don't come out right. I don't know. I don't know. I do not know. But it's okay. We make it happen, right? We make it work. And then there's some ladies that can measure to a T and it works out perfect for them, and I'm in awe at that. And if that is you, please keep on doing it, okay? You know, do what works for you, because at the end of the day, you know, crafts should, you know, whenever we are crafting, we should be enjoying our time. It should not be a stressful time, which is why I don't do the measuring, because it stresses me out. And I want my crafts to be fun and therapeutic and helping me, not making me stressed out more. There's enough in life to stress me out. Right? I think we all could agree with that. Life itself is stressful enough. We don't have to add to it. Especially not with the one thing that's supposed to be, you know, like our outlet. Okay, so I'm going to put that there. Will I probably need to trim some of it? Probably. That's fine. We'll come back. It'll be alright. I just want to make sure that the back of our doors, and like I said, you could easily fix this by doing double print. I didn't think about it, and I was like, well, I'll just add something on the back. It'll be fine. Adding this right here. Oop, totally moved that, didn't I? Yes, I did. So these are going to be our doors, or like I said, you can make windows as well, right? And I'm going to bend it inward just a little bit so that I can see if I need to, and I do need to trim just a tad bit. Okay. And we'll just go down the score line that we did. Bring our door out and make sure that it will fold like we need it to. And there is our door. This one still has a little bit too much white up here from what we added. So we'll just, now we're taking away the white with our ink. If there is any like extra too much white, you can totally trim this off. Alright, but there is our door. Door number 1. Alright, let's check our door number 2. Make sure that we didn't put too much glue somewhere. Yeah, this one also, there was a little bit too much on the top, so it's not going to go, it's not going to open, so we need to trim that down. There we go. Okay. This one was a little bit easier because it was a rectangle instead of the curve. So it was just a tad bit easier as far as, you know, figuring that part out. But again, you could totally bypass having to add this additional piece of paper if you printed like a wood grain or something like that, something to that effect in the background. Okay, so if you remember, then, you know, by all means, do that. Okay. I need my little inky doo. And I'm using brown, but you know, in all reality, with this door being pink, you could use pink, of course. Alright. We need a handle for our doors, right? Like, all doors have handles. I mean, these ones have a handle, but we want to add something that we can utilize to open these doors. And I went ahead and put my paper on, but you can add a brad if you want to and do it in between the two pieces of paper so that you don't see the brad coming out the back. I'm not going to add one, but you could if you wanted to. Okay. Now we need to figure out which of our beautiful fairies is going to be behind the doors, right? Okay. So let's see. Let's see if she is too big, because that's gonna be, well, she's not that big. You know, we could put her behind here, so when you open up the door, you have her. That's one option. She would definitely be too big, I think. Yeah, she's definitely way too big. She would not be a good candidate. At least not for the curved door. Let's see if little Miss Fairy, still a little too big, I would say. And we have this pretty girl right here. She actually fits pretty nicely. So it's a question of, okay, this is the aesthetic of the door on the outside. When I go to open her, do I like having the brighter green fairy, or do I want the more muted watercolor fairy? And I think I'm going to go with the watercolor fairy. So I'm going to put glue all the way around. Hello there, welcome in, Miss Wendy. Did you get stopped up that quick already? Y'all, I'm going to be changing this tip out. I already bought a replacement because it's getting on my nerves. It's getting clogged up way too fast. Okay, so I'm going to come. We will obviously end up trimming. It is important to get glue right on the edge here because we don't want the image to lift, okay? So no lifting image. Alright. And I'm going to open the door and set it down to where I have the, and I can see the image that I want. Okay. So that is the image that I'm getting when I open up. I'm alright, dear. Dealing with a lot of knee pain the last over the weekend. It's only gotten worse really between last night and today. So I'm gonna go see the doctor tomorrow, let them do an x-ray, whatever, figure out what might be going on. Like I said, if you wanted to add a brad for like a little door handle, okay, like an actual little door handle metal piece, put it on before you glue the back piece, okay? Oh, okay, yeah, sure, of course, Miss Wendy. Sure, anything, dear. Okay, so obviously we have to trim this whole page up, but here is our door. Here's our little fairy door in the wall with the mushies. We open it up and there's our fairy. So that is door number 1. Okay, and of course we can glam up this page. So let's set her to the side and let's work on door number 2. Yes, please. I'm hoping that it's nothing too bad. I know I've been in a fibro flare, so I don't know if that is affecting it or if it's just getting old and arthritis is starting to kick in. I don't know. We shall see. Okay, so this is door number 2, right? A nice little pink door. So we can fit her in the background. So, right, we open up. So here's our pink door. We would open her up and we would have the fairy that is drinking her cup of tea. That one actually fits really nice. So that's an option. The next one that we have is, again, the pink door. Open it up and we have the fairy that is reading. She does fit because this door is a little bit bigger, so she would fit. So that is option number 2. And let's see if Miss Green Fairy works in this one. And she would. So here's our pink door, and we would open it up to see the Green Fairy. So pink door, okay, door number 2. Should it be A, the Green Fairy? Should it be the Reading Fairy? That's option B. Or should it be the fairy that is drinking her cup of tea? Which one do you guys think works? A, B, or C? Which one did you guys like? We have 3 options to go on the background of door number 2. So, Green Fairy, Reading Fairy, or the fairy that's drinking tea. Which one do you guys think works with our pink door that we've done? Let me know which one you guys like. The tea. So I have 1 for A and 1 for T. Okay. Let's see, we get some more input in here, because if not right now, we're tied. Alright, Miss Trudy also likes T, so that's 2 for the T one. Miss Wendy likes the T one as well. Alright. Okay, so it looks like we're going with our tea loving fairy. Awesome. Alright, so same like we did before. We are going to put the glue on all of this and then we'll center it on our paper. That's the whole reason why these ones I did not trim down. Because, you know, we have to maneuver our image. Alright. And then you can obviously cut these down more to fit on your journal page. So whatever size your journal page is. Remember, we gotta make sure we have right up on the edge because we don't want that image to move on us, okay? Alright, and then I open the door so that I can see where I am placing this down, because I want to make sure that we get a good image there. Even if it looks like it's a little crooked or whatever, you know, because you don't have much time depending on what glue you're using. That's why you want the door or the window open so that you can see how you're laying it, okay? Again, just go over our score line here to make sure that we can fold this. Bring it out. And then there is our pretty girl. Look at that. Again, if you want to actually have a physical little like metal handle, put a brad in before you glue your pages together. So look at how pretty these are. Again, we do need to trim them down, but here's the you know, curved door, and there's our girl, and then we have the pink door, and there is our girl. So I'm going to trim these down now, at least partially, so we don't have all the excess paper. And then we're going to add some prettiness to our papers. Okay, so just cutting off all the excess that we have. And remember, these are great to add into, and you can do these with any journal. You can find all kinds of door printable, you know, all you gotta do is Google. You know, now, and nowadays people use AI and make all kinds of stuff too, so you can do that as well. So I may obviously end up trimming these down a lot more, depending on the size of the journal that these end up going into. But for now, they are that size, right? They are the size that they ended up printing. And I thought this was really neat. I was super excited. I'll be showing the girls at the retreat. We'll be doing a garden gate for that journal as well, because I think it's just a fun element to add into journals. I love when things open up. I was the fan of the kid books that had the little flip up things in them as a child. I loved those. That was me. I think you guys know what I'm talking about, right? So I'm not going to ink the edges of these of the page itself, only because I don't know what's going to be the exact size that I end up using when I include these in a journal. But these are great to have ready, or like I said, as an addition to whatever you're going to do. You know, it's really cool because with windows you could put acetate behind it, so it gives you that like glass look to it. At this point, we can do things like adding glossy accents. We can add little gems. We can add stickles. Emmy loved those books. I love them. They were interactive. They kept you thinking, you know. They're just fun. They really are just really fun. So I'm going to add some glossy accents Let's see. I think I might try and add some onto the wings of our fairies. So we're going to open up these doors. Try my best to keep them as open as possible so that I can put some glossy accents on the wings. And I also want to do a little bit on the mushroom caps as well. So you guys know me, I absolutely love working with glossy accents. It's just one of my favorite mediums to play with when it wants to work right. So if you do the diamond art and you have like leftover of the little colors and stuff, or you can buy, sometimes you can find them on clearance, the little tubs with the little color things. Those little half gems are great for adding in the middle of your flowers. They just work really, really good for adding, you know, that additional 3D look to things. So I'm gonna add this. Now this does have to dry, so you do need to give it time to dry, okay? So make sure that you, that's why I went ahead and pressed the doors open, because this is gonna have to sit flat and dry and cure overnight, which is what I prefer to do. I prefer to leave them overnight to cure. So just make sure that you know, your door opens up enough if you want to do this. You can even use the glossy accent as your medium to glue down the like little rhinestones or like the diamond dots if you're using those. And sorry if I'm not watching comments, but I'm trying to make sure that I don't get any bubbles while I'm doing this. And sometimes, like I said, right now I'm in a bit of a flare, so squeezing hurts. So I need to really make sure that I don't tremble too much as I'm putting this down, so it doesn't mess my image up. Okay, so here is fairy number 1. Let's get fairy number 2. And she is blue. I don't even remember where I got this image from, but it's super cute. I remember really liking it because she has a cup of tea, and I love to drink tea. It's one of my favorite things to do. Okay, and with the way this one is printed, it has the look almost of butterfly wings, so they will really show really nice once this dries clear with that clear enamel look to it. And that's the really cool part of the glossy accents, is that it does give you that look of like enamel resin without having to work with those types of chemicals, because you know, not everybody does well with working with chemicals, or maybe you don't have the space or the area or good ventilation for resin. So this is a great alternative for that, because you can still get the really neat look. because I've done resin before. Oh my gosh, the two-part stuff, that is such a pain in the rear end. Let me just say. It is an absolute pain in the tuchus. Okay. And making sure that it's all got it nicely, that there's no bubbles, and we're good. It is called Glossy Accents. Here's a newer bottle, and it's from Ranger. And this is a really, really neat product to work with. And since I already have it out, I'm gonna go ahead and do this mushroom cap over here that I want to add some to. And like I said, I love working with this. It's just really, really cool. It's great for eyes, glasses. It gives you that look of like realism. So, and I've used this not just on paper. If I've done projects where there were glasses like on wood, I've used it on that. I mean, you can use, again, that is the beauty of mixed media, is you can mix things and it just works so cool. Things that are meant for one, you know, you use them on something else. And I think that is something that's very, very neat. Let's do it on this one over here. And we still have a few. It is really good, isn't it? I love working with this stuff. It is so cool. It is just, it's very, very neat. For sure. Again, it gives you dimension and you can do just so much with it. I know somebody, Miss Brenda, was talking about dangles. So I use this to make charms for my dangles. And I'll show you guys here in a bit as soon as I finish this big old mushroom. But again, you know, if I'm making charms, and that way you can use it you know, because not all, you know, sometimes putting the glass top onto you know, on top of a charm will make it very heavy. So if you use this, it's thin, but it gives you that look of glass, and it makes for really cool dangles. So I am using glossy accent. Yes, ma'am. You know it. You know it. I am using my glossy accent. I am glossy accenting up, you know, all my little things here. I absolutely love using my glossy accents. Aw, it's okay, sweetie. I was showing how to make these fairy doors. Now, I'm not going to close them because we have glossy accent on here, but the idea is that here is the fairy door, and there is our fairy, and then here is another fairy door, and there is that fairy. Once these dry, then I can close the doors. Let me show you guys something that I decided to play around with. So I like my Coke. Okay. Oh, thank you, dear. I'm actually gonna put these over here so they can dry. Biggest thing is I gotta make sure they're away from my cats, so we don't end up with. And this is what I was using. I grabbed bottle cap ends. This is wax paper, and this is just regular scrap paper, and I used glossy accent, and now all I have to do is trim this up. So I'm gonna try to trim this, and now I've made a dangle little charm that I can use, and I used stuff that I already had. These are scraps of paper. Again, this is a bottle cap, right? The tabs, and there's that glossy accent, and it is dry. It dried hard and clear. This one was done with what is this? Oh, this is a hymnal page. I used a hymnal page for this one, right? And I put it over where it says hymn. Same thing, just bottle cap, paper, glossy accent. Now I get to trim this off, and now these are like little charms that I can use, you know, and dangle off of my books, right? And you see I did one here. Here's another piece of music paper. This one I put it over the notes, so what you see is the notes, right? Over here, this is some other just scraps of paper that I had that I pulled out of my scrap pen, and now I have some little dangle charms. So many times when I've used them, okay, I've used them with things like this, right? And so this has got glossy accent on it. That one has glossy accents on it. It's not, it looks like glass, but it's not glass, okay? Bottle caps, if you have bottle caps, and just put scraps of paper on it. These are actually waiting for me to put some glossy accent on them, so I'm going to sit down here and do that. Here's another one. This was a sticker, right? And all you do is you put glossy accent on it, and it gets them nice and shiny like that. It's hard. It's enamel. It's really cool looking, and then you can dangle these. But I wanted to, Miss Carla sent me, she sent me a picture of a post, and I was like, well, I have bottle caps, and I have paper, and I have glossy accents, so let me try this, because I don't know, I think they used resin, but I was like, hey, if it was done with resin, I can do it with some glossy accent. And yeah, it worked. They came out really cool. So these would be really neat to put on a dangle coming off of a book. This is your junk journaling, using scraps, using things that would otherwise be considered trash. This is your junk journaling right here, okay? This is more of your upscale journaling. That's how I see it, okay? So that was just my little experiment there. I really like how they came out, so I'm going to be doing some more of those. I think it's a lot of fun. I have my husband saving all of his tabs too, so I got a little collection going. So I'll be making some more since they came out really good. Thank you again for being here. If you missed how we did these doors so that we have an interactive element in our journals, check out the replay. You can see it here or on my YouTube as well, since I do go have it streaming over that way. And I want to thank Miss Amy so very much for having me. And please go and see Miss Brenda. She will be up, and she should be on now. So go over to... No, my craft room is not organized, Miss Trudy. It is not at all. It's organized chaos. I know where my stuff is. Thank you, Miss Brandy. I appreciate it. So I hope you guys are inspired and get out there and try some new items as well. And thank you so much. I love you guys. go to Crafty Friends Unite event group and you can see the rest of today's presenters and everybody that was up before me. I love you guys and I hope to see you guys tomorrow.